Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Nerd Age, where we discuss everything nerdy. My name is Mick. With me, as always, are my co-hosts, Josh.
What's up?
Corey.
Yo.
And Jonah.
Hello there.
Hello there. Welcome to the show, guys. It's good to be back here. Obi-Wan just aired its first 2 episodes last week, so we are going to discuss said 2 episodes.
Spoilers. We're going straight in.
Spoilers right away. So if you have not watched the episodes, please go watch the episodes. Come back and have a spoiler discussion with us. So who would like to start?
I'm just going to say, probably, I wonder how many YouTube videos there are out there of people that are reviewing it, and they're like, hello there.
We fed into it.
You know, it's every single
That's
YouTube
right.
video. Come on, Jonah, be different.
Hey, I haven't seen any of those videos, so in my mind, it's the first time I've ever heard it.
No one's ever thought of it. Nice. Nailed it.
I guess Corey and I can start. So Corey and I recorded a reaction to it as it came out.
Live reaction.
You guys can check that out on YouTube. We kind of talked in that it kind of went a direction we weren't expecting. Like the whole young Leia, I thought we were just gonna like see a shot of her or something, but like the fact that she got kidnapped and seeing Alderaan and all that was pretty nuts.
We didn't hold that casting with enough weight. We thought it was just going to be a flashback or a scene or two.
Yeah.
It seems like it's going to be a lot more than that.
Yeah, and so they really went into that. I think for me, I really liked the opening 2 episodes. I think the best moments for me, there's some nitpicks I have, but
how about start at the beginning? Did you like how they did the intro?
the intro was amazing. Like we talked about, like the recap. I think we even joked about it to being like, hey, if I ever want to watch the prequels again, I might just watch this recap because the music was really good. How they did that, like how it all set up. That was really awesome. And just kind of seeing Ewan McGregor back as Obi-Wan just felt great. I mean, he's just so good. So everything they did with him, I really enjoyed. But yeah, I think we agreed on most of it. That we just really enjoyed what they were doing. But yeah, what do you guys think? Just light. You know, we just.
I thought it was. I really enjoyed it. I liked, like you said, the intro from the very beginning was like, oh, okay. At first, I was like, are we going to see Anakin murder some kids? But we didn't quite go that far.
I mean, pretty close.
But it's so cool to see clones, actual clones, not CGI clones, like actual people in armor.
Right.
It's super awesome. And to kind of recontextualize Order 66, like just seeing like that zoom in or zoom out from across the temple, and like
I wanted that,
all the lightsabers going, and you're like, because in the movie it's pretty fast. Like Anakin shows up, he rolls in. I think there's deleted scenes of him killing Shakti and stuff like that. So stuff we never saw, but just kind of seeing like, oh, there was all these Jedi there that needed to get wiped out.
It looked exactly like SWTOR's cutscenes. Where the Darth whoever it was
when they fly in,
and then they're fighting where it's Jedi versus Sith.
So that was super cool. I agree with you guys. It was like kind of taking that route of like, oh, we're gonna explore young Leia was a really cool dynamic. I think the actress is awesome. Great casting. I think we've talked about kid actors before.
It's tough
and it's hard, but really I think she nails it for me. I'm like, she's like a mini Leia. We had baby Yoda.
Sass.
Now we've got baby Leia. And she nails the sass. The banter is really good between her and her mom, Bail, and then later Obi-Wan. But yeah, I thought it was awesome for me. That she was the highlight of the first episode for sure. And seeing Alderaan was cool.
I was telling Corey, being able to see it gives more weight to episode 4 when it's destroyed.
It was just some planet that got
you didn't
up.
know.
Yeah, it was her home planet, but
so that's a really cool thing that you're able to do with this kind of stuff is you're gonna be able to be like, oh man, that sucks, and I hope they do more on Alderaan. That would be really cool, because I think it's a cool looking planet, and it's
very
just
like Swiss Alps.
And I mean there's the book. What was the book, the Leia book that came out? because I read that and that
Princess
made it.
of Alderaan.
That also was another thing. It's like, oh man, Alderaan sounds so cool and all that kind of the culture and that kind of stuff. So it's cool that they're doing that.
Yeah.
That we're able to put more weight to the originals.
What about you, Mick?
Yeah, and also spending more time with Bale.
Yeah.
Even though we've got quite a bit of him in the prequels, but yeah, seeing more of his character is cool too. But yeah, I really like the episode 1 and 2 also. I love how it started with Order 66. I definitely wasn't expecting that. And I'm assuming one of the characters we see in that scene is kind of a different character that we can get into, but possibly setting up some background stuff for that character is, I think, pretty interesting. But I love the music. I don't know if maybe we heard the Obi-Wan theme that John Williams wrote. I was expecting something more to stand out as oh, that's it. But it's kind of a nitpick because I enjoyed pretty much everything.
You weren't listening.
I guess not. No, my ears are probably
you can definitely hear it. Yeah.
They played it at Celebration.
Well, no, I mean it's a part of the intro, and then you can if you throughout the show you can definitely hear
whenever he's pondering things.
They play it through. So
okay, but yeah, I love the setting of just how hopeless the galaxy is at this point, and Ewan McGregor's acting in it, where his character is it's so good, it's so perfect, and so far it's everything that I've wanted it to be. And I agree. The young Leia, I think, has done a really good job. I don't think that's really an easy role to step into and make it your own when you're 10 or 9 years old or however old the actress is. But I've been really looking forward to the third episode because it definitely leaves off at a part where you want more. So yeah, I've been very pleased so far.
Sea-Dog?
Yeah, it was like a breath of fresh air for me. I think that a lot of the episodes of all the series are just kind of off the beaten path, and I think this is kind of a cool return back to home, Jedi, and just the overarching storyline, and seeing just an off story of that. And I think seeing those moments with Obi-Wan and that, because we're doing spoilers, but that one Jedi kid, and seeing that dynamic of hey, you need to help me, and he's like, nah, we lost, it's over, and literally he sees the weight of it, his decisions. He basically killed that kid, in a way. But did he? You know what I mean? If he did help him, he's basically just considering how to cut his losses, and the only thing on his mind is to take care of these kids, specifically Luke. Obviously, he has such a hard time even deciding on even helping Leia out, but seeing that devotion is pretty huge. And I think it's very, very cool to see how dangerous and how desolate it is for the Jedis, those few that are left. And I love seeing that aspect of the story, especially with Obi-Wan and Ewan McGregor. He just does such a great job.
Yeah.
And I love seeing the Sith. The third sister is all right. I think me and John talked about it in our reaction where we wish she was a little bit more menacing. But obviously,
what's the character's name?
Reva.
Yeah. One of our, obviously, a very obvious theory is that she was a youngling. We see African American girl with braided hair, part of that opening scene. Yeah. So that's probably her.
Starts with her, the camera pans by her,
and I'm sure there's
that's her. Yeah.
I'm sure there's some moment where Obi-Wan turned his back on the Jedi. That's what I'm guessing. And so, because she has this huge deal with him, and it's so interesting to see that hatred, that pure hatred.
I figured it was something that was just her fault on her seeing it as Obi-Wan's fault, that he just didn't show up early enough to the Jedi Temple. Not necessarily that he...
Yeah.
He was also in charge of training. Well, see, that's the other thing. I've got a lot of questions about it. I think you guys do too, but Does she know that Anakin was there slaughtering?
I think that's
the
how
aspect
she knows.
That's what I'm wondering.
That Anakin is Vader, because she probably saw him at the
he
in the
was
temple.
his master, so it's his responsibility.
Well, I don't know if it's necessarily that, but I am thinking it.
Something happened. Obviously.
I think it is. I think it might be the element that you're saying. You know, we've already seen in episode 1 where the Jedi comes up to him and he says, Master Obi-Wan, you need
Turns
to
his
help
back
me."
on him.
And he kind of says, forget it. And then the next scene is he's dead, right?
Yeah.
So I'm wondering if there's something like that where he's like, Obi-Wan is so focused on, my responsibility is to Luke, right? And so maybe there's an opportunity to save younglings, and he's like, I can't go hide. He doesn't, because there's a different priority, and she sees that as, because you didn't help me, now I became an inquisitor, right? I think that's because she has a vendetta towards him or something. So it'll be interesting to see. That's one of my, I guess, nitpicks, or the things that I didn't like is her. I wish she was a little more menacing. I wish she looked a little different as far as like alien looking or something, or a mask or something that would make her just look more menacing.
You want her looking cool,
but I think my biggest issue is I feel like she was, when everyone else was knocking it out of the park acting wise, I felt like she didn't. There were some specific scenes. There's one scene where she's like flaring her nostrils when she's angry, and I was like, that's just, it was too like obvious, like you're like overacting, like trying to be and then there's another part that I think we looked at each other when she goes in episode 2 and the guys are in there, Flea, the spice, they're on the ground, and she comes in and she's like, where is he, right? Her delivery was just like, maybe that's not her fault, maybe that's more of the direction wise, but I feel like those kind of scenes, I was like, they stood out in a negative way to me.
If there's anything that was going to take me out of the immersion of those 2 episodes, it was her scenes where she was front and center. Yeah. But they still weren't bad. It's right.
And I'm hoping like the character has potential where I'm like, I'm really intrigued at how does she know all this stuff?
Sure.
Why is she doing this? So that's intriguing to me. And I'm hoping that kind of the acting catches up to it. Cause I just feel like that for me was like the negative. The other negative thing I feel like, and this again is a nitpick, but the scenes where they're chasing Leia when she's kidnapped, I was like, it was too like, come on, like you could have filmed it better. It reminded me a little bit of the Vespas in Mando, like they were going so slow and just how it was filmed.
Lazy.
I was like,
it felt like lazy. Home Alone. Like,
it felt lazy.
The adults can't get over a branch.
Yeah, because it was really simple stuff.
I fell over.
Like that guy could jump over that.
Yeah. I feel like they should have made it like. Also, this is probably they're like, oh, we want to film in like an open like space, but if you make it like tighter and it makes sense that she'd be able to get in areas that they wouldn't be able to fit. And also it's her woods she plays in all the time.
Right. Yeah.
But it was just too open. Yeah. So it just made it look a little ridiculous that she's like, she had one slide that was cool. She like slid under. And then after that, it was like, they were just
kind of also like, the acting. Like the guys would be like, hit a branch and go, they move. So it's like, it felt like they were using like really massive like prosthetics to get around stuff. But it's like, you're not like, you could just be like, jump over that. So yeah.
It was totally the directing. Like, it was their fault in my opinion. Because I thought that was actually on paper, that's an awesome thing to do. Leia spends all this time out in the woods and she should be able to escape because she knows the routes and stuff like that. But it wasn't dense enough to be believable at all.
Yeah, just the execution of the scene was just.
Could there not be like
convey it that well.
Could there not be like a cave that was so small that only she could fit through, and then they're screwed? Like they don't know where it goes. Like I don't know. There's a lot of things like that.
I get they're trying to make her like, oh, she's formidable, right? She runs around. But if it would have been better for me if they're like, she has a hiding spot. She runs to that spot and hides. And then maybe you have them like walking around and you're like, oh, are they going to catch her? Are they going to walk by? I think that would have been more effective.
And Needles.
And then a ring wraith comes by and they have to,
And she's underneath the log.
And obviously that's a nitpick, but it was just, it stood out to me when we were watching. We were both like, I think for me, the best moments are the strictly Obi-Wan, like stuff that in episode 2 when he's talking to her and he's referencing Padme, you know, that writing was so well done that it wasn't like hitting you over the head with nostalgia or anything. It made me feel sad because Ewan McGregor sells it where you can tell he's sad, right? The way he talks, like he has sadness in his voice, but he's also like love, and he's caring for her, and like there's like a longing that he wishes he could tell her who his mother was and who was, you know what I'm saying? Like that is just so well done. They did kind of a similar thing in the first episode. The stuff with Owen, that interaction.
See, I really like that. That was a highlight for me.
Those, I think, for me, were the best moments of the 2 episodes because, again, the acting was great, but I think the writing was really good, right? It wasn't just simple, like there was layers to it. If you're a fan of the prequels, it kind of like gave you a gut punch, kind of like you really felt the emotion there. And so that's what I want more of. And I'm sure we're going to get more of it. And I think something that I really like too is they're already setting up the Qui-Gon Jinn aspect where he's calling out for his master and he's not responding.
And they say it in the opening. I'm going to teach you how to...
Right. They drop that. And then, so I think there's no doubt that that's going to be kind of one of the things that comes up maybe in the season finale is that's how, you know, he finally connects. Because I think one of the cool things is he hasn't used the Force in, 10 years?
Yeah.
Right? And so kind of he's getting back into this whole thing. And it's going to be exciting to see his interactions with Anakin, because how that episode ends, kind of just even on his face when he's like, Anakin, you know, he says his name, that he's alive, like there's hopes rekindled that he's going to be able to turn him. So that's a cool setup.
I like that he didn't use his lightsaber. Like he was thinking about using it and he didn't do it. Like he could have fought the third sister, but he's like, nah. Even like when he was fighting those guys, you can tell he's like, he's not quite up to snuff. And he even says it to Bail Organa. He's like, I'm not the same person. Yeah. Like, cause he's been stuck on that planet and like, he's carried this guilt of like, I murdered my best friend basically. Like he thinks he's dead. So he's living with that guilt of like killing his best friend. And he has that like, basically like Luke is my redemption basically.
Right. Yeah.
Like if I can get Luke trained, I can hopefully redeem myself. And that's the only hope he has. So I like that buildup that like, once he ignites that lightsaber, hopefully it's a big moment and he's kind of building up to that. But also, like you said, Jonah, like that whole aspect of him being like, Anakin's alive. I have a chance now to redeem him. Cause it's what, you know, whatever that line is, Obi-Wan once thought as you did,
right. In Return of the Jedi.
And I think it's interesting that Reva's kind of like, yeah, he's coming for you. You can't hide. Like she thinks he's going to be scared. And like, maybe he is a little scared, but I think it leans more into like, he's actually hopeful now. He's like, I have a purpose. I can redeem myself and redeem Anakin for what should have happened, you know, and at the end of Revenge of the Sith. Yeah. So yeah, I'm excited for that.
I think it's also, sorry, real quick. I think it's also like really difficult, this writing challenge, which is, you know, where these characters go. Yeah. And I think that's a big challenge. And like the moment where Owen and like the third sister was like, drew the lightsaber to him and all that. I actually felt, even though I know what happens with this character, it's just like able to evoke emotion out of something that you know the conclusion of. It was pretty impressive. So far I've been pretty pleased that I felt so much as I have, you know?
Yeah, it's good.
Yeah.
What were you going to say?
Oh, I was just going to say, so I've had like Jonah was saying, I had a few nitpicks, and 2 of them are kind of the same because it has to do with actors that were chosen. Kumail Nanjiani and Flea. That was like the only 2 times where I felt like I was taken out of like you're like the moment.
That's the basis from Red Hot Chili Peppers.
Corey was like, is that a Red Hot Chili Pepper? And I was like, yeah, it's Flea.
Yeah, those are the only 2 moments where I was like, I don't know. Like for me, those actors don't really fit in like a Star Wars setting. Maybe that's just me, but
I'm surprised you didn't have a problem with it, right?
I asked that. I immediately asked
moment.
that. I immediately
Did you
asked
change
that.
your mind?
I thought
Because we have the record.
Haja is his name.
I
Haja.
thought when I saw him, I was like, because
It's the guy from Eternals.
well,
That's why I asked it. That's why
I hate that movie.
That's why I asked.
But then it kind of worked for me because I was like, he wasn't a Jedi and he was kind of like a
A scoundrel.
Like a
He was a
scoundrel.
scoundrel, but
Yeah.
also
And-
a Jedi sympathizer.
yeah,
Which is kinda
and
interesting.
so
That's a cool
I don't know. I
aspect.
guess it didn't bother me once I like saw what he was doing, kind of thing. So it I would think it would pull me out, but it didn't. I think
Yeah.
I
His jokes
guess
were
his-
over the top.
right. It wasn't like too much. It was just like enough to like move the plot along, and
I feel like
so I thought even his interaction with the third sister at the end, I thought was like, I didn't mind it, even though
See,
he's
I
being
guess-
like I'm like trying to pretend like he's a Jedi. And what I liked about it is it's like he doesn't even know what a Jedi is,
Right.
Like, and he's like trying to use this whole thing like this is what a Jedi would be, and it's completely wrong. So that to me was like where I thought it was kind of clever.
yeah, I thought it was creative because every Star Wars series or movie has some kind of character like this that is either a scoundrel or a cheat or some kind of
Yeah.
lighthearted, kind of more lighthearted character. And so this is kind of their input on that one. But I thought it was cool because at the same time, he still is like helping people, even though he's charging them.
Yeah.
So he's not completely bad. And at the end, he showed his true colors by trying to make a diversion. So that was cool. I don't know. I thought it was really quick, but it was a nice little refreshing character. I actually didn't mind him. Yeah.
And I guess too, it actually might say more about my problems with the third sister's character, because in that moment, I feel like she wasn't like
She should've
menacing
killed him.
enough. Like we already were shown that she'll cut off someone's hand without like
Yeah,
second
she would've-
guessing.
she would've just killed-
He
cut his
seemed
head off.
too not
Especially because no one's there to keep her back.
Right, yeah.
Even in that aspect, someone was there to watch her over, but she
Yeah.
could have done whatever she wanted.
So yeah, those were the two moments with actors. The other that like I just find hard to believe, and sure that you could say reasons for it, but I find it hard to believe that Obi-Wan like never even heard of Vader like out there in those 10 years, like didn't hear anything from anybody else. Yes, I know he's been
They're on the outer
like
rim.
secluded on
been 10 years,
Tatooine,
yeah.
but
I
like
think-
in 10 years, I feel like something would have been said or
I think-
heard that, oh, you know, the Empire and Vader is blah, blah, blah. You know,
I think he would have.
something.
I think he's heard of Vader, but he doesn't know that Vader's Anakin.
Yes, he does.
Yeah, he does.
Yeah,
does.
because he
'Cause he
sees
sees that in the
Palpatine.
hollow.
Yeah.
Rise, Lord.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah.
And
That's
then
true,
Yoda
yeah.
says he's been consumed by Darth
Yeah.
Vader.
Yeah.
So he knows that Anakin
Oh, that's
is
true.
Vader.
Yeah.
But I
Whether or
think
not he still
even in the
exists.
comics and stuff, they've built up that like Vader's not a common like people in the Empire know who Vader is because and there's fear and all that
But
stuff.
no one really
he's
knows
not-
that name. It's kind of
Yes.
like, oh, there's this person
He's-
that takes people out, kind of a
He's
thing.
kind of like Batman. He's like a symbol.
They call him Vengeance.
and like he shows
Going
up and
Vader.
murders people, and there's like rumors of him and stories of him, but it's not like common knowledge.
Yeah, it's not that. Yeah,
But the Inquisitors know, like, because obviously he's training them and he's in charge of them. But that's kind of like how they've built it up, where it's
Yeah.
like,
I think the only reason why I more believe it is because he's on the outer rim, which is a very long way away, and he's living literally in a cave,
yeah,
right?
Yeah.
Versus being more central and more of that stuff happens. So
yeah.
I mean, yeah, there. Like I said, there's definitely like good scenarios where you know you could look at it and say like, well, you know, he probably didn't because you know we were shown his day and day,
Yeah.
which was repetitive
Yep,
and
there
like
you go.
very secluded. So I can understand like
and he's got no radio.
he's got no radio.
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah, that's kind of how I took it. It's just like he's so cut off from everything.
Yeah.
Like that's his goal. He's just consumed by
Yeah.
Taking care
taking
of.
care of the kid
And acting
I
like a
don't-
normal human being.
I'm keeping my head down. I don't want to have anything to do with anything. I'm not getting involved with anything. So that's kind of how I like. For me, it didn't bother me. I was like, yeah, sure. He's just like Corey said, out on the outer rim on that terrible Tatooine planet. You know.
They should have had a scene where he's like, I'm going to listen to the radio. And he puts
Yeah.
it on. He's like, well, in other news today, Lord Vader has just slaughtered a planet full of
See?
10 million
Yeah.
people.
That would have been way better, right?
It's the two-headed guys, whatever it is.
But yeah, so overall, I really enjoyed the episode. I think I will be kind of disappointed if Vader doesn't like massacre the third sister. For
That's how it's gonna end.
I think
they're setting it up.
The comics, like he's always like wreck shop when people like figure out that he's Anakin.
Well, yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking. Is like, I think we talked about like, oh, how does she know?
Yeah.
Because that's not common knowledge at all.
Yeah.
Like nobody knows.
I think like Tarkin and Thrawn.
Tarkin knows a little bit. Like he recognizes. He's like, you're very similar to Anakin because they've spent a lot of. Thrawn is the same way.
No, he deduces.
He deduces it. But everyone else like has no clue. So it's like the fact that she knows is a big deal.
Yes.
And so I fully expect. I think that's probably one of the reasons why I don't really have a problem with Reva so much. She's been fine, and I'm not like, man, I want her to be more menacing because I'm like, no, I want Vader's the big bad. Like she's just
that is a good point.
Working to get there
because the Inquisitors
the
Inquisitors are kind of supposed to be annoying and like not.
And so for me, it's like I'm worried about this guy, and if showing her this way helps me to see that. That's Vader's the real bad. She's serving her purpose for me personally.
Okay. Yeah, but I'll push back. I feel like her doing that you're right. It probably enhances Vader, but it undermines the Grand Inquisitor. And I think that's kind of the problem because she's like all the other Inquisitors now are kind of a joke compared to her. And even the fact that she stabbed. Because you can't really kill the Grand Inquisitor unless it's a different one, because he dies in Rebels.
Well,
so to me, that's where it kind of like you had the first two episodes where he's constantly being like, "Oh my gosh, you did this again." Where in Rebels, he's pretty ruthless. So that to me is my only concern is like, yes, you're trying to build her up and be like, oh yeah, look at how crazy she is and how like she's consumed by what she wants, her obsession of Obi-Wan and all that, which is fine. But the problem is it's kind of undermining, I think, the other Inquisitors and the Grand Inquisitor specifically. And I think what is going to happen is I think they're just going to put him in a bacta tank the rest of the series. Like, that's what I think is actually going to happen, where they're like, he's still alive, but he's in a bacta tank, and then she's going to be kind of rolling things, and then Vader's going to kill him.
This is what's happening. They killed him off, right? He's dead. That Grand Inquisitor's dead. The next Grand Inquisitor looks exactly like the guy from Rebels.
Mr. Longhead.
Yeah, he's got long hair. He's like, he's played by Jason Isaaks.
He's like, this is my brother.
And they please all the people.
Exactly.
Everyone cried
he went
about
through
the design.
Same thing that I did.
That's actually not a bad idea.
They're like, psych. Just kidding.
That's actually pretty funny.
That's one thing that kind of annoys me, is that everyone's like, they broke canon. And like I've seen so many articles that it's like, did they just do a major retcon? I'm like, no, they didn't. It's the freaking second episode. Just wait.
Well, there's
no way.
There was that article that was, did they retcon this? And then I'm like, they just showed we'll talk later, but the Ahsoka trailer they're talking about Ezra, that has Sabine in it and has Hera. I'm like, yeah, they're totally retconning Rebels to then add all those characters in the Ahsoka and have this whole backstory. Get out of here. So, it's like, of course they're going to explain what's happening. Like, she didn't kill him.
If we get to the end of the 6 episodes and he's still dead and there's no explanation, then you can get upset. But why don't you just let us get there, all right?
Yeah, you should probably wait.
Just drives me nuts.
Just wait.
Yeah, because no one survives getting sliced by a lightsaber.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I better bring him back with spider legs. That's all I want. Just like Darth Maul.
Maybe they find the bottom half of Darth Maul.
Yeah, there you go. I think, for me, overall, the best moments were like the small character moments between Obi-Wan and other characters. I really liked that moment with Bail Organa and Leia, where he's like, he's having that heart to heart with her.
Yeah.
I thought that was really cool. Yeah, that's exactly. Yeah. That's how dads talk to their kids, right? And then I thought it was cool seeing, like, we've seen how Luke grows up somewhat, and now seeing like how she's kind of going through the same thing that Luke was going through. She's stuck on the same planet. She's looking to the sky, looking at the different ships going off planet, just like Luke was. So it's kind of cool to see, like, even though they're like the way that they were raised were way different, they still have that same desire
living it up
there's something more out there for them,
Right.
basically. So I thought that was a cool parallel to kind of see between both Luke and Leia. I honestly think we're done with Leia after this episode, and I hope we get a little Luke in the later episodes. Like, I hope we get to see like young Luke maybe a little bit.
Saying after episode 3.
Yeah, because I think he'll return Leia,
Yeah, right.
and then we'll be done with baby Leia.
I just can't imagine. I mean, maybe they'll do it somehow. I'm having a hard time imagining him going back to Tatooine, and then more stuff happens.
I feel like he'll go back to Tatooine.
He's gonna go.
I feel like
He's got to
Vader-
finish his shifts. He didn't have anyone cover for him, so
Because I feel like if Vader shows up on Tatooine, that's just too. I don't know.
Vader's not going to show up on Tatooine, but I think he'll go back, and I think the third sister is going to follow him there.
And then
Back.
it leaves again.
No, I think there's
He and
stuff
Vader
there.
have a clash of
right
fate with
Saber.
destiny.
But I don't think that happens on Tatooine. But I think like if there's an ultimate clash, I think then there's going to be something with her where she follows him back there.
So
There-
Obi-Wan does have to leave again, or he just takes a long time to get back to Tatooine. Is what you're saying?
Well, right now he's going to go after Anakin. We know that because now he's going to be searching for Anakin. So he's not going back to Tatooine. But I think once he already confronts Vader or whatever, realize he's more.
gotta get Leia back
He's more.
first.
You're right.
That's
And then
first.
he's
He's
more,
like, sorry,
He's like,
Leia.
yo, hop on
I
her
got
back. I'm gonna kill this dude.
No, but they're leaving, right? And then he gets her back, and then he searches out Anakin.
Yeah.
He's more machine now than man. Then when he goes back,
that's a plot point.
that's
More
when he
machine than
realizes
man.
that he's
gonna
actually
say
truly
that
is
line.
On
dead.
the timeline. It's like, you
Is he
say
gonna
this
say
for
that
me?
line?
He won't.
I
But-
hope so. He's
Anakin,
with
I'm more
Vader.
machine now than man.
But I think he's going to go back to Tatooine. There's going to be a confrontation with the third sister on Tatooine at some point that maybe involves Luke. The thing they have to be careful with is how much interactions does Ben have with Luke? Because in A New Hope, he doesn't really know. He's like, old Ben? Like he kind of knows who he is, but he doesn't. So they'd have to be careful with that. I think if there's that's
You forget a lot when you're a little kid.
well, yeah.
You know what
but
I mean?
I
It's
think
pretty hazy.
not
The fans never forget.
That's
though,
what I'm
Corey.
saying. It's not. I don't think it like for me. I wouldn't care. It's going to be for the people that are like that doesn't make any sense. So that's where
know,
they
yeah.
writers have to be careful because they have to tread lightly on fans' expectations, which is silly.
I mean,
because
we
I'm like,
got-
just give me whatever.
I mean, we got 2 episodes in, and people are already complaining about little things here and there.
Yes.
Like that doesn't make sense. He should know this person. This person should recognize him, and blah blah blah. Yeah.
I mean, all I care about really is, honestly, like in this whole show, I care about Obi-Wan and Anakin the most. Like everybody else, I don't really care about. Like them two. Those two are the ones that I want to see interact and their story evolve more. So I'm hoping that like the big climax is both of them. Like I don't want it to go to the third sister or something. Like as long as we get like that as the climax, then I'll be thumbs up.
I mean, I feel like I think you're good. Don't worry about it. I think that's what we're going for.
You guys will get something you're happy with. I think.
Yeah. Before we end, we did our predictions. And so I've counted
Nailed
up
every single one of them.
I've counted up the ones so far. Now we talked before. There's a little recap in the show that kind of does show some characters that
In case you forgot,
people have said.
Yeah, it's
but
a lot of that.
We decided that doesn't count because that's just a recap. But
That's before the credits too, and everything,
right,
So.
but there was a moment where Obi-Wan is having dreams and that shows the characters, so those technically do count because those were in the show. So from the tally as of now, bringing up the rear is Corey with -2 at this point.
Oh yeah.
And then Choop is at
-1, baby.
Choop is at 1, positive 1. Mick is at a 2, and J-Bone is at 4.
what? I thought you said Mick wasn't the lead earlier.
Well, I've counted. I said that off the top of my head.
What did go through the list?
Wait a minute.
Okay, all right.
I thought you were
Yeah,
gonna like.
So, Qui-Gon, that hasn't happened yet. Ahsoka hasn't happened yet.
okay.
Young Princess Leia, we all got a point for that.
Yep.
Yes.
R2 hasn't happened. C3PO.
R2 did happen.
R2 wasn't in there, was
Yes, he was. He was like in the background shot. He was there.
Oh,
Did I say R2? Did I say R2 was
We all
showing
said
up?
R2, so we all would get a point.
Okay.
C-3PO.
Was that C-3PO though?
Yeah.
He's
that
in the
was-
background,
that
and
one
then the other girl. I said no, right?
Yeah.
Choop said no. Everyone else said yes. Alderaan, Mick said no. Corey said no.
I'm an idiot.
Choop said yes. I said yes. Cody hasn't happened. Rex hasn't happened. Yoda, I don't think has happened. Palpatine hasn't happened. Cal Kestis, no, hasn't happened. Will not have. Padme, Mick said no. Corey said no. Choop and I said yes. So we got points there. Younglings, Mick got a point there. We all got negatives on that one. For characters just showing up, Kitster, I said Dex, Max Rebo, and Wu Hair. No one has showed up yet. Bail Organa and Bria. Mick said yes. Corey and Choop said no. I said yes.
Okay.
Cad Bane hasn't showed up.
Dang it.
I have Mon Mothman.
I think I missed my
So that's
window.
what we have so far. So that means
Now I know. Now we know you're telling the truth. That's all we
we
want.
always tell the truth,
Honesty.
boys.
Tell the truth.
But yeah, so there's plenty more that can happen. Corey, you're not dead in the water yet. You can still make a comeback.
Don't care about
They're gonna get a bunch of negative points.
To be honest, boys, I care about him igniting that lightsaber
That's right.
and it meeting Darth Vader's. That's what I care about, boys.
Ooh, is that one of the predictions?
No, we didn't do that.
Well, it's a yes from me. Boys.
Yeah,
Cool. Well, is that it?
that's it.
Okay. Well,
We'll cover the next episode. So episode 3 will come out this Friday. So Thursday
Thursday at midnight.
at midnight. So we'll cover that.
Thursday
And
or
I think it's coming out. They,
Is it
come out
Are they doing the
Wednesdays.
Wednesdays?
I think they
think it's
just pushed it
Wednesdays,
to the
isn't it?
Friday because it was that. So I think it's going to be Wednesdays.
Wednesdays? Okay.
yeah, I think
they just did the first two because it was celebration.
Tuesday.
We'll find out.
Tuesday
We'll,
midnight, right?
So anyway,
We'll be
you'll have
watching.
plenty
Dang,
of
that's
time to
coming up
watch
then.
it before we
Yeah.
do our review on it. But we're going to be covering every episode. So
yeah.
Yep.
Keep it here at
Third
Nerdy's
of the way there,
Podcast
guys.
keep it here and sub.
for all your Obi-Wan needs.
Yeah, comment down below too, and let us know what you thought about the episode. And yeah, we will see you next time for more Obi-Wan talk.
See you later.
See you.
Bye.
See ya.